Well, welcome back again this week to Analysis Behind the News. You know, just came back from a visit with about 30 congressmen in Washington, D.C., in their offices, one-on-one. And it was interesting to visit with them and the things that they told us, and I thought I'd pass some of those things on to you. We were there primarily to inform them about our Support Your Local Police program and what was going on in the streets across the country vis-a-vis the demonstrators and that sort of thing. We have found that to us in the John Birch Society, we see things a lot quicker than other people do. And we notice things because we have a little different take on what is happening, and we have a lot of experience to fall back on to take a look at what is really happening behind the scenes in these demonstrations. So we put together a little package. We weren't lobbying, we were just giving them information so that somewhere in the future they could be better informed about what's happening out there in the hinterland, if you will. And what we were doing was showing them the communist, yes, the communist background to all these street demonstrations. We showed them photographs of demonstration after demonstration after demonstration, all using the same pre-printed signs with the same URL address for, you know, the internet pages and that sort of thing of the Revolutionary Communist Party, the Communist Party USA, that kind of thing going on. And most of them, in fact, well, I'll just say all of them because that's true, none of them knew any of this. They had no idea of the background of these demonstrations, that they were that well coordinated, and who was coordinating them, and who was financing it. So we were bringing that home to them. In the course of these conversations, they brought up, we didn't because we were not there to talk politics, they brought up information about the presidential campaign and their frustration with their own party leadership. These were all Republican senators and congressmen. They feel frustrated because they can't accomplish things. They were sent to Washington, D.C., as one man told me, to get something done about what's going on, and they are not allowed by their own leadership to do so. For instance, he said, I just came back, just before we had the meeting, he said, I've just come back from the Republican House caucus, the Republican House study group, actually. And he says they get in there and they stand up and they talk about the problems with Obama. He did this, he did that, and this is going on and the other. And then we write a letter. He says we're not allowed to do anything. That's all we ever do is write some letter or pontificate about the problems, but the Republican leadership never allows them to do anything. This was the case under Boehner, and it is also the case under Ryan. In fact, in many cases, as you well know, for those of you who followed this, under Boehner and also increasingly under Ryan, they are actually helping Obama in some of his agenda. So these men feel very frustrated with this. A lot of this was told to us on the QT, so to speak. They don't mind us having the information, but they prefer that we not use their name because of the possible retaliation within the system on the Hill. Men have been taken off their committees. They've been stripped of their chairmanships. One case, they had to restore it because of the tremendous pressure from the rest of the Congress over that procedure. But this is the sort of thing that they have, that they hold over these men and women. You don't get your committee assignments unless you pay for it. You don't get them and keep them unless you play ball. And they're sick and tired of playing ball. One man told me specifically, he said, these people hold the power. There's only one way to take that power away from them, and that is simply take it. And so those are the sorts of things that are the background conversation to some of the things that we learned while we were there. The frustration has even spilled over into the presidential campaigns. They had a lot to say about that. As a matter of fact, I can tell you, and this is not an exaggeration, this is the exact truth, all of them volunteered. We did not ask because, as I said, we weren't there to speak politics. All of them volunteered that they can't stand Cruz. They don't like him. Now, this was even individuals who are supporting him because they don't trust Trump. But all of them, to a man, said they can't stand Cruz. They didn't specify why or anything else. They didn't get into that, but they made that comment for whatever reason. But it was universal, and they all brought it up on their own. As I said, we didn't want to talk about it at all. Interestingly enough, those individuals who were for Trump kind of alluded to it, but didn't come out and definitely say they were for Trump. One of the newspapers, and this is kind of a hint as to why, that you see in every congressman's office is the Politico. The other one is called The Hill. Now, a lot of people think that these are simply online. They are actually hard copy newspapers sent to every congressman's office and senator's office every day. And the day one of the days that we were there, couldn't see 30 people on one day. It took us 3 days to do it. But at any rate, when you open it up, it had a very interesting article in there, and the title of the article is, excuse me, I opened it up on the wrong page. Here we go, it's the next page. As soon as I get my fingers to work. Here it is. I saw Trump, so I thought it was the right page. It says, "Help Trump and you'll never work in this town again." In other words, it's an article about the fact that if you help Trump as a campaign worker or as a congressman or anything else, you will not be welcomed back in Washington, D.C. in doing those things that will get you reelected, will get you to be able to do anything as far as that goes, to get something done. And if you are a professional individual, an aide, a pollster, a lobbyist, any of those things, you will find that you will have a tough time getting a job again in this town if you help Trump. Now, that is very anti-establishment, isn't it? That if you help Trump, you're going to be working against the establishment. It's the only one that they talk about in that regard. They don't talk about Kasich or Fiorina or Cruz or any of the rest of them. It's just Trump that they don't like. Take it for what it's worth. But that's the sort of atmosphere that is there in Washington, D.C., an atmosphere of, if you help this guy, you're never going to be welcomed back again. And I guess that's one of the reasons why those that even supported Trump only alluded to it. They didn't actually say that to us. But things are very, very different in Washington, D.C. From the previous visits that we've had. There is this rising frustration within these congressmen to actually get something done, and they will do almost anything to do so. But that level of fear is still there. They haven't broken through that yet. There's that fear factor. They've got to break through before they're ever able to do much in Washington, D.C. So this election is going to be very important in that regard. And as we say in the John Birch Society, Congress is the key. And so we have to concentrate on our individual efforts, at least, on electing good people into Congress. We don't endorse people and that sort of thing, whether it's Congress or president or anything else. But really, if you've got an opportunity in your area to do some good relative to getting a good person elected into Congress, we certainly urge that you do so. Until next week, we'll see you then.